Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight, episode 250, and Ben and I thought we'd chat a little bit about multi-tools. Mainly because, us being us, of course, here in the last couple weeks, both found a deal on Amazon and decided to buy some new multi-tools. But then we got chatting about it, and honestly, we both kind of have a pretty good stash of multi-tools from our bushcrafting career.
Yeah, and I don't think that the stash we have here is representative of how many we've owned over the years.
Oh, heck no. This isn't even... This is what I found in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I know I have other ones. I just don't actually want to go through the effort of finding them.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And it is what it is. I mean, it's something. I mean, the reason we ended up doing this is I was talking to my brother, and my brother, somewhat like me, has a liking, not unlike many males and quite a few females actually, a liking for knives and sharp things and things that make things do things. Like you can screw in screws and pull screws out and nip things with the pliers and file things with the files and yeah, all the things that these tools can do.
And I mean, that's a great segue into the first thing that I wanted to talk about, if you're on the same page here, Ben, is why would you choose a multi-tool to take bushcrafting over a knife? And I'm not going to say you're going to take it over a knife because I've never brought just my, well, that's a lie. I have just brought my multi-tool a couple times, but generally I'm augmenting my knife with a multi-tool. I tend to take a multi-tool as my secondary or even my third knife because a multi-tool has a lot of other functionality to it that you just find really convenient around the campsite.
And agreed. And do you remember one of the Alones episodes? There was a guy, Maker's Mischief. What was his first name?
I can't remember because it's been a while.
Anyways, he took a multi-tool with him on a loan, and there was a few reasons he chose to do that, and he even modified his before he left because he wanted a gouge, and there isn't a multi-tool readily available that had a gouge, so he took the can opener and modified it to it. So why would you want a multi-tool? Is obviously
Fowler.
exists. What?
Fun in the Woods just said name was Fowler.
Fowler's Maker's Mischief, yeah. Good guy. I liked watching his shows. I've even watched his YouTube channel. Honestly, he's pretty solid. You know, he's probably more better at it than we are, but
I mean, he has got a more honed skill set, Ben. Let's go with that.
well, yeah. I mean, we can talk about that. Not today, but we could talk about that. But yeah, like the thing with a multi-tool is it's exactly that. It gives you multiple tools. I mean, a Swiss Army knife is something else we've talked about, and I always carry a Swiss Army knife. But
That's not a Swiss Army knife, but that is a rescue tool from the fire services. It is like the fire
yeah,
services version of a Swiss Army knife. Same kind of dealio.
huh. I mean, and if we had decided we were doing Swiss Army knives, and I have another pile we need to go through. But the thing is, like, what are you getting? You're getting multiple tools. I've seen people compare them one over the other, and there's no true answer what is better. But you do want to look at your situation, and if you don't know what you're getting into, having those extra tools comes in handy. I find like the Swiss Army is more almost a personal hygiene item because it has the toothpick, it has tweezers, and you generally have like you have the corkscrew, so it's like your you know,
EDC.
EDC. It's your everyday carry. It's if you're going on a date with your girlfriend, you need to get a bottle of wine open. If you need to put a quick hole in a piece of material, you got a nice little awl. I mean, that's the basic kit for me. The only thing I would like in this one it doesn't have is a saw, and we can talk about the saw in a second. But yeah, it means that when you get wherever you're going, you have a problem, you have generally a pretty good chance of either having the tool you need or being able to make the tool you need. Never underestimate the power of making the tool you need.
But there is a multi-tool to me. It has something that's a little harder to replicate in nature. And for me, that's a pair of pliers. A good multi-tool to me has doesn't have to, but a staple of a good multi-tool for me is a pair of pliers to some degree. You know what I mean? That's what makes a multi-tool to me, is it has to have pliers. And everybody's like, well, why would you need pliers in the woods? You would be surprised how often you require pliers, not just in the woods, but just in your day-to-day life, how much easier they can make some situations.
Yeah. Obviously, like for equipment. So whether it's a saw, it's an ATV, it's your car, any type of a piece of equipment, chances are putting hoses on, clamps, trying to get something you can't quite reach with your fingers, or you can't quite grip hard enough, you can get a solid grip and pull things through. Um, but even like repairing other pieces of kit, like, you know, trying to pull a string through a small hole, or do a quick chain, quick to when it, maybe you clasp on your pack, or uh, if, and this is something I've done a lot, like a grommet gets bent, you need to sort of flatten it back out. You can fix these things.
A very overlooked thing for a multi-tool that I use mine more often than not for, and I'm almost a little ashamed of, taking my camp cup off the fire. If it gets a little too hot for the handle, you can grab your multi-tool and just pick that sucker up and move it out. And yes, you can make some sticks and make a set of tongs, but if you got a multi-tool in your hip, it's literally 2 seconds and you're done. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, but the sticks, they slip sometimes. Like I've
Sometimes.
lost food this way. Um, you know, and I'm not the kind of guy who's good with chopsticks or anything like that. I'm passable, but
That's me.
I'm
I'm
not.
passable. I can keep myself fed. I'm not fancy.
No, I'm not going to say that I can deftly pick up the exact thing I want perfectly. I'm not getting a single grain of rice, and I'm not depending on it holding my cup and not over camming and making a state. And yeah, being able to grab that lip solidly and pick it up and move things around. If you need to make a quick tool or like a hook, I mean, just pliers, it's just giving you that mechanical advantage. And the cutters that come with these, like you can cut through some pretty solid wire and tubings and things like that. This pair is mildly damaged. Um, you can see how much somebody uses theirs by the damage in theirs.
But the point remains, if you have a multi-tool and some snare wire, you basically have an entire trapping kit. A good multi-tool, let me say. If it has a basic saw, a cutting blade, and the pliers with cutters on it, you basically have a rescue trapping kit in your hand with a little bit of rabbit wire. You know what I mean? It's got everything there you need to be able to bend and manipulate the wire in small detail where your fingers may not be able to get in and, wrap it as tightly as you need and whatnot. The knife is going to cut a lot of your notches and stuff like that. And the saw, much the same, is going to augment that and make cutting some of the bigger stuff a little easier and things like that. But literally, with a good multi tool and some snare wire, you can potentially survive a little bit. You know what I mean? Now, taking water and shelter out of the equation, just looking at food alone, that is a huge leg up to have those two items on. Yeah. And honestly, you're already carrying a knife. Like a lot of us carry a hip knife or a pocket knife or something like that when we go bushcrafting. Everybody knows bushcrafters, knives are our thing. We have more knives than we have anything else in the house. And the argument on what's the best knife and all that can go, miles out there. Ben and I have done episodes on this. We have our opinions on this. But a good secondary multi-tool or even a set of pliers. Like Nomad over here says he always carries a multi-tool, some kind of always as a backup. Also carry pliers, so specific need for a Leatherman isn't necessary. Leatherman being a brand name of multi-tool for anybody that doesn't know, if for whatever reason. And yeah, there's actually another YouTuber I watch who has nothing to do with bushcrafting, believe it or not. He does old vehicle restorations, and he carries a pair of pliers in a sheath. And it's the neatest thing I've ever seen. And in one of his things, he actually did a little write up. One of his friends made this sheath, and I've wanted to hit up Jamie Harris. And if anybody doesn't know who Jamie Harris is, he's another one of Ben and I's friends that we met at the Nova Scotia Bushcraft Gathering, stuff like that. He does knife making, leather work. Not just knife making. I should say he does metal work at this stage of his career. He does knives. Like, he's really good at knives, but he is delving into some other metal work and stuff like that, so credit to him. But he also does leather work. And I'm really debating sending him a pair of pliers to mimic this thing, man, because it is just so slick.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk to most fishermen, they carry a pair of pliers, right? Getting the hook out of the fish, straightening the hook out, crimping the lead weights down. Like, there are lots of them, and a lot of them have little lanyards on them. And this is something else that a lot of these knives have. There is a lanyard hole on a lot of these, so
Yep.
that you can tie them to something secure in case you're working somewhere where you might drop it and you don't want to lose it, right? I think one of mine, it actually was a fold-out option. But I can't find it anymore.
I know
Anyways,
most of mine have some way of forming a lanyard onto it, either by the bottom or an actual attachment or something like that. And that is so you can attach to your gear or your wrist or whatever the case may be, so that you don't have to worry about dropping it, losing it, and things like that.
yeah. So why would you carry it? Because you never know what you're going to need, and regardless, like the smallest multi-tool, because there's little ones that I've carried that fit in your pocket easy, you forget you have them, to the more solid sized ones, like something like this. This is the one we'll probably talk about most later. Um, you're guaranteed to have 5 or 6 minimum tools, probably up to, I think in one case, like 30 to 40 tools on a single item. So that gives you a ton of possibilities. And they're not always limited with that. Some of them you can take additional tools and add to it, or modify as you need. So knowing that you can do that gives you an opportunity to do so much more. Um, and so, yeah, why do you carry it? Because the plethora of options. What can you fix, repair, use it? How can you prevent injury? And this is one, like, if you've ever been trying to drive a nail in an awkward spot, you can hold the nail, hammer it down. You can pull something out with getting your fingers in.
Speaking of hammering, this is a multi-tool with a small actually axe end on it and a hammerhead on it. A couple of my friends gave me this one for Christmas, and I was kind of like, all right, it seems like a gimmick, to be perfectly honest. This thing is awesome. It's a little cumbersome to
Yeah.
attach to your body and like put on a belt hook or something like that. It does come with a belt case. It's a little cumbersome that way, and it's a little heavy when it comes to multi-tool stuff like that. But same thing. Never thought I'd ever need a hammer out in the woods. You'd be surprised how often a little hammer comes in handy.
I always need a hammer in the woods.
Once again, to straighten something, to flatten something, to break something up.
Put in a nail, pull out a nail,
Yeah.
to to put in pegs, take pegs out.
And that's what this one has become. This I don't carry this one bushcrafting per se, like when I go into the bush by myself to do stuff. But if I'm going to the cabin, or if I'm going to be doing some close range tent camping, this comes with me. This is the multi tool of choice.
And I've seen them where and this is something else. Most do come with pliers, like that is the more normal function. But I have seen them with an adjustable wrench option, and I've also seen them with a vice grips option. I know, I think it was Leather used to make it. They don't make it anymore, but that's a really neat design, and I think it has a following. So yeah, do know that you can get the end replaced with different things. I've seen ones where they're more of like a pair of shears,
Yes. Uh,
right?
we used to use those in Justice, and they were kind of a takedown tool sort of dealio, but they were a multi tool with a set of shears. And they worked surprisingly well as well. Like, if you get a good set of shears, they don't just cut cloth, man. They'll cut a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, you have that mechanical advantage. You can really squeeze on it. I mean, like the human hand, I don't know what it varies. I've seen people with but I think easily most people can get 100 pounds of pressure. Some guys 2, maybe even 300 pounds. So like the hand strength of a human varies quite a bit, but it's there. I used to remember trying to pick up scales and squeeze them, and I get, but yeah, I mean maybe it's 50 pounds. I don't know, but I can remember getting some pretty good numbers when I was young and stupid.
Young and full of spice.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a tool that I've carried a multi tool since I was probably 19.
No, and it's a staple of mine as well. Like I've always had a pocket knife and some sort of multi-tool. Now I don't always carry the multi-tool directly on me, but it's always within somewhere where I can get it. Like I have a habit of leaving one in my bushcraft bag. I got one in my ATV. I got one in my truck. I have them in places where I know I can get access to them if I need them. They're never that far away from me.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I know exactly when I got my first multi-tool. I was with the military. I would have been just turning 18. So since I was 18, I've carried a multi-tool.
Used to be vice grips. Joke around work was that my hands used to be vice grips. Danny's joined us there, Red Sand Adventures. So, yeah, multi-tool is definitely worth it. So why don't we move on to what are some of the functions that you should look for in a multi-tool, Ben? We already talked about pliers. To me, like I said, pliers is a staple of a multi-tool. If it doesn't have a pair of pliers, it's not a multi-tool that I'm probably going to use in bushcrafting so much. Not that I won't use it. It's just it is one of the main things I look for is a pair of pliers. But what else would you say is going to be a good option to keep an eye for when you're looking for a decent multi-tool for camping, bushcrafting, just general outdoors use?
Well, first and foremost, and maybe this is going a little off, and if I am, solid quality. There's because I have to say this because you can go to the dollar store and buy a multi-tool. Should you go to the dollar store and buy a multi-tool? It's a totally different question. Some of these things will be physically uncomfortable. They will not physically stand up to any load, and they're going to fail on you. So first and foremost, regardless of what functions you want in one of these tools, oh, look at that. This one's broke.
Uh-oh.
Anyways. uh, but yeah, this is exactly it. So this one here has not got a lot of use. It was a Power Fist. I paid okay money for it when I bought it. It has a little light in it that the batteries are dead. But I just noticed that one of the pivot points actually has a missing screw in it. So if they're well built, you're most likely not going to lose parts from it. And I have no idea where that part or when it went missing could be. But I have noticed the cheaper versions are, for the most part, you get what you pay for. So yes, a good multi-tool is going to probably run you more than 20 bucks.
Yeah. And this isn't saying that the $20 ones don't necessarily have a place. Just to play devil's advocate on this a little bit, Ben. Because one of my first ones was this Coleman. And it wasn't overly expensive. I think I paid around $25, $30 for it. But it does have a lot of drawbacks that you and we were discussing some of these beforehand. I kind of want to throw them in here. It's a decent quality, like it's solid, but you can tell where they cut corners. You know what I mean? Something you had mentioned on one of yours was like the edges on the inside where your hand is going to grip. They have sharper edges. You know what I mean? It's not ergonomically comfortable in the hand. It flares out really far at the bottom end for the size of it. The tools, though they are riveted in, so there's nothing there for it to really get loose and fall out, there is a little bit of play to it, like a little tiny bit of side-to-side slop. Like you can see where some of the corners were cut. But for, I think I was around the same age, maybe 16, 18-year-old kid, running around the woods, just getting my feet wet to bushcrafting and being outdoors and stuff like that, that was a great little multi-tool for somebody that had no money. You know what I mean? It functioned for what I needed it to be. However, keep in mind, this $25, $30 Coleman, sorry, I had to see what the name was again. I bought this back in like late 90s, early 2000s, maybe. I don't know what the equivalent of that cost would be now, because I know inflation's going to have some effect on that, and I can guarantee you it's still going to be a better quality than what you would get from, say, the dollar store or the Great Canadian Dollar Store or a Buckatoo or any of those real discount places. The stuff you're going to get from there, they are literally pot pinchers. That's about it.
My first one happened to be a Gerber, and it would have been a descendant of or an ancestor of this one. And I got it because the military had it, and I remember when they first got them, like, and I was in there, and they were everyone was snapping the blades out and using them. And the nice thing is they came with a lifetime warranty. You broke them, you turned them in, they gave you another set. Things to look for if you're questioning whether you have a good one. Take a look. These are things I look for. It's not the be all and end all. Take a look. Most of them have a can opener. Is the can opener sharp and made of a decent material? And the cheaper ones the can openers are notoriously poorly made.
I don't even think my cheap one had a can opener. But yeah, no, can opener is definitely something that's going to be good in there. Uh, well, I mean, simply just for its use to open cans. I mean, it's one less thing that you have to take in if you're going to be taking canned food in. Yeah, this one does have a can opener. It has never been used. So,
Yeah. Um, so sometimes, and you'll find this with the rip-offs of Swiss Army knives and stuff. You oftentimes you go to the dollar store or the grocery store and you'll see the knives with your names on the side of them.
yeah.
You open them up, and none of the edges that should be crisp are crisp, and edges that should be sharp are rounded. Like it's odd how they manage to mix that always up, and you'll see like things that aren't like angled right. Like this one here, this Power Fist, which I would consider mid range. If you look at the can opener, the blade isn't on one side, which it really should be for a can opener because you're cutting one way. It's centered, more like a knife blade. So they didn't really take full thought when they built it. There's a little bit off. It's not fully off the side, but it's a little bit off the way it should be. So take a look for things like that. What's the opening? Is it when you open it? Is it nice and firm, or is it loose and floppy? Look at the edge of your pliers. They should be even. They should be gripping each other.
Mm.
So this old pair of Leathermans, which honestly aren't great for me because the edges are sharp. It was one of their early designs. But yeah, they're nice and straight and aligned well. So you're going to be able to do good work with that. So look for those things. Look at the form and function of it. Overall feel. Past that, what tools are you looking for? And I think we're back to your question. And sorry,
No, it's all good. Still good information to look for and a good tool.
once you've determined that it is the brand you're looking at, because there'll usually be a few options to get. What tools do you need? I mean, I'm gonna give my opinion.
Yeah,
I always like a good pair of scissors.
this is something I had on my list as well. And it's surprising you don't actually start getting decent scissors until you start getting into better multi-tools. For the lower end ones, like I'm talking $20 sub, you're probably not even going to get a pair of scissors. My Coleman, there's no scissors on it. There's none on my there's no scissors on my Gerber. I don't even think there's scissors on my Leatherman, to be honest. And this
Not,
is one of the more high-end ones.
there's not on my Leatherman. I mean, mine was one of the early versions. We figure. My Gerber has them with. Here's an example too. The way the spring is, nice firm function. You're able to use it easily. This one here, this spring goes off every now and then, and so it doesn't stay open. And so you kind of gotta like play with it, and that's annoying. So eventually you can get it working, but and then you see you can't probably see it, but there's a lot of play in that blade. So when you're cutting thin material, it'll oftentimes get stuck between the blade, and you can actually open the blade up. So there's another thing that like they don't get the scissors right. And people, why do you need a pair of scissors for?
Once again, it's one of those things. You are surprised at how often you use it once you have it.
I've often had to cut threads, material like cloth and stuff when I'm in the woods. Trimming up nails, especially if you've damaged a nail. With a pair of scissors, you don't have a pair of proper nail cutters in the woods. I've probably cut my nails more often with scissors than I have with actual clippers, to be honest with you. And the multi-tool scissors are where I tend to go to, or my not this particular Swiss Army, but yeah, a good pair of scissors. And if they're good, they'll handle that. But if they're bad, you are quickly going to ruin a good pair of scissors with nails. So understand that. So, yeah, scissors have always been an absolute favorite of mine. I tend to use them way more than you would think. Again, if you're going to do a lot of scissor, 100% get a proper pair of scissors. You're in the woods. You're not making, snowflakes and
No.
and a whole bunch of crafts.
But
you
you know
are
something that I use them for a lot? Just before I forget about it, sorry Ben, didn't mean to cut you off, but removing tags on clothing and stuff like that. As you know, my daughter Lily, she has autism. She has some sensitivity issues, and tags are one of her triggers. You have no idea what tag it's going to be. It could be the one that's on her shirt, could be on like a pair of pants, could be on one of her stuffy animals, but that tag has to come off. And then I started noticing sometimes I have some new gear, like a new coat, vest, something like that I'm wearing, and it has a tag that bugs me. And now I'm starting to use them a lot for just removing the tags on clothing. And people could argue you can do it with a knife. And absolutely, if in a pinch, you can do it with a knife. But it makes such a nicer job with a pair of scissors. You can get closer. It's neater.
Yeah. And if you ever had to separate a couple of pieces of material, you can get in there and you can really do the threads. Sort of like a seam ripper, but not. It comes in very handy. I absolutely love a good pair of scissors. And so it's always a high priority to me to find a pair, on my multi-tools. I always want good scissors, So,
oh, go ahead, Ben, finish your thought.
Yeah. The other thing, again, you mentioned this in the very beginning, and I don't know it's the most important, but there should be a knife, in my opinion, on most multi-tools. Is it your primary knife? No, but when you already have it out and you quickly need a knife, it's oftentimes the solution. Also, your main knife is probably, this is a personal opinion. If you don't agree with me, don't get upset with me. Is probably a straight knife.
Yeah.
Right?
Something with a full tang, or at least, almost full tang.
Oh, I'm saying not serrated, but.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like non-folding versus. My bad. I'll back up, Ben. Finish your thought.
Because no, I will carry it. I still have it there. It's not in my, like my open L knife. Yeah. Yeah.
I got you, Ben. I got you.
Mine's right here. It's 2 seconds away, but.
I have literally almost every knife I own within arm's reach at the moment because I started digging through my knife box. And I found knives I forgot I owned. It was like a kid at Christmas again.
You don't want your wife to ever figure out how many knives you actually own, right?
Oh, gosh. I don't even know how many knives I own anymore.
So it needs to be said, though, like a knife. You pretty well always want a knife on your multi-tool. It's pretty well standard. The new ones we have, and I think we'll talk a bit more about it, because this is a shockingly good knife. For the price, it's a shockingly great knife. And it's a ripoff of the Leatherman Surge.
Yeah, I think that's what we figured out.
And so, without opening it up, you get 4 tools. One of them is a good pair of scissors, which are solidly, if they're fully
super
open,
solid scissors. Some of the I'm literally going to say it's probably one of the best pairs of scissors I've seen on a set of multi-tools. And this includes some really high-end multi-tools. I think it was Nomad. Was it Nomad or who was it over here? Hold on a second. Something about the Gerber ones. Yeah, it was Nomad. Those Gerber scissors are a pain because the blades are so short. And my Gerber suspension has the smallest scissors ever. And this is the thing. Gerber has been known for having smaller scissors. Not that there's anything wrong with that, don't misunderstand, but a lot of the scissors on even higher end multi-tools don't stack up to this. They're good quality, but they're lacking when it comes to these ones. I was so surprised how good these ones were.
Yeah. So, yeah, the other thing, like on the same side, I guess, is the full knife on this one. And these everything lock. And I really like any knife that opens, that the items are lockable, so they don't fold in on your hands. Especially these slightly more awkward. This one is surprisingly comfortable. And again, it is a ripoff. They stole the design.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But the patent is up, so it's not an illegal steal. On the flip side of the same one, same size, but a nice serrated knife. And next to that, something I think me and you both.
Your flat edge knife was on the same size as your scissors?
Yeah.
Mine's not. These actually vary tool to tool.
No, what do you mean by side, though?
So my scissors are right beside my.
Yeah, I meant the other side.
Oh, okay, cool. Never mind. Sorry, folks. I thought I learned something here. I did not.
Depending on which side as you consider a side,
Yes.
it's left and right or front and back side. The other thing it has this, and this is a really nice feature, and I have a similar feature on my Gerber, and it was ability to take different blades. This one can take regular jigsaw blades. This one here has a file with a diamond side, or it feels like a diamond side, and just a crosscut side. And a file is a shockingly good tool to have when you're in the woods. You can touch up knives. You can take nicks off your axe. You can fix some mechanical equipment. You can, if you have a sharp edge on a piece of material, you can get rid of it, especially if you're working on equipment or you have something that breaks and you need to make it safer. I use a file an awful lot, so I was really pleased to see a decent file on this thing. But this one, you can open that particular tool and take it out, and it has a T-shank. Why would that be important? Because newer jigsaw blades have T-shanks.
Yeah.
And so you can put a saw on your multi-tool and cut branches and small pieces of wood. Now, can you cut a tree down with this? Absolutely not.
But even with any kind of multi-tool, you're going to be limited to a blade length here. So it's, you know what I mean? But the good thing is, like you said, where it's removable and interchangeable, you don't have to repitch the teeth and it always stays sharp. While you can replace it as it gets dull, more specifically.
Yeah. So, a great feature. I'm fairly pleased with that particular feature. And I said, Leatherman makes a good one. You can, if you want to spend approximately $200 for a knife like this, can't go wrong with the Leatherman. This is the first time I've seen this, and you showed me you have one existing. The hard wire cutters are actually replaceable. You can actually replace them. And it comes with a spare set, so a good function. Internal, everything still has a lock. So my Gerber, which was previously my favorite, all the blades were lockable. They had these slides on the side. Nice, comfortable to use. So this one can take screwdriver bits, and they're interchangeable.
I'm not laughing at that. I was just curious to see what my Leatherman goes for right now. My Leatherman, the OHT, how much do you think this is going for right now, Ben?
182.
Keep going.
300.
Not quite. 260.
Wow.
I did not pay 260, folks. I can tell you that much.
No, they've gone up in price, and that's one of the things you have to know. Like, how much do you want to spend for a good tool? And honestly, that is up to you. Know though that sometimes you're depending on these for your life. So, where these are removable, that means you end up with I think it's a 1/4 inch bit. So if you have to, put on a 1/4 inch nut or take a 1/4 inch bolt out, this will help. It is a little tapered, so it would be perfect. And you can get replaceable bits. I heard the Klein kit, you can buy a Klein screwdriver, and it has the same bits in it, so you can actually expand your requirements. So, very solid option. Screwdriver bits never go astray in a multi-tool.
No. And once again, we're kind of running into some of the uses you can use outside of bushcrafting and stuff like that too. Like just today, I used my multi-tool to fix a window at work.
Yeah. I have resecured like light switch plates and stuff, and people's houses, homes. I've retightened things on bottom of like chairs. If I see a loose nut or bolt or something that's wiggling and I have a multi-tool, I'm most likely tightening it. And so here, like 2 common flathead screwdrivers. A can opener, a really solidly well-built can opener, and I'm pretty happy with this can opener, actually. Not the best I've ever seen, but top 8.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it for the price we paid, and I do have it loaded up on Amazon behind here. Danny's asking us what the brand name of these are. They're
Library.
Byberry. Is that what they are? Or Beeberry? Byberry. Yeah, Byberry. And once again, I guess we'll drop the ball on this one. It's not really any kind of secret. We're getting the quality of over $100 multi tool, and we pay what, $50 for these things?
We got a sale. I think we paid $53 each.
They're still on sale for 54.
Earlier this, like a couple of days ago, they were up to $60.
Okay, so it's fluctuating good. I did, anybody that's wondering for about this specific one that we're talking about while Ben was chatting there, I did include the link in the description of this video. You can click on it as of, what's today, January 10th, 2024. They're still on sale, $54.99. Sorry, continue,
And
Ben.
the last thing that I want to talk about on this particular, not necessarily the absolute last, is the awl. I mean, a nice little hole, so you punch a hole, you can pull string through it. It has that reaming ability, so you can ream a nice clean hole. You can join a lot of material, especially with leathers and woods and stuff like that. You can do a lot with this tool. So, I mean, if I was working on a car or a motorcycle, and I mean, me and you have both been in this position, and you break down in the middle of nowhere and you get your toolkit out, this is a multiplier. You have your standard kit, but this really helps, and it means you're not pulling the other kit. Sometimes you need the other kit. Sometimes you need two pliers. I can't say that enough, honestly. One tool rarely is enough to get you out.
So, another thing that just came up from the comments before we go past, Casually Extreme Outdoors joining us here this evening, and he's asking, or they are asking, sorry, folding blade versus fixed blade. Loaded question there. So when it comes to multi-tools, folding blade, because I wouldn't want it fixed and out all the way. If I was only going to pick a knife to carry, I would probably go with a straight blade or fixed blade with full tang, simply because it's got a little bit more strength to it. If I'm going to rely on one knife and one knife only, and we've this is a topic for another night, but just to kind of quickly answer the question, and Ben can weigh in as well, there's just a little more strength to it, a little bit more versatility with a good full tang knife.
Well, and that being said, the only thing I want to add to this, and this is a lovely discussion and something we could spend way too much time on. So, Casually Extreme Outdoors, we can talk about that in the future for sure. A decent folding knife is pretty good, but no, even the most high quality, I mean, I've seen a couple that were ridiculously well built, won't take the strain of a well-built full tang knife, which means you're more, say if you have to baton a knife, I would never baton a folding knife unless it was like the most extreme version I've found. I am hesitant to baton even some full tang knives, depending on the thickness and all that. But yeah, full tang, you have a much more solid thing. You can even get into the 3/4 tang and how they design it and how they put it in, and sometimes you can come up with a pretty, they're very, very comparable. But yeah, I mean, if this is your only knife, I think right now I'm carrying, and it's not really truly a full tang, I have been carrying a Moira Companion for the last quite a while and have had no issues with it. So it's just been a solid, decently lightweight, but very rugged knife. I own other knives. I've made knives. This one here I would call a 7/8 tang because it ends here. Like the very pommel is not.
So that would be a true full tang. Tang goes the full way through the handle. If anybody's wondering what we're talking about here, you can see the metal that's clearly laminated straight down through the entire butt end. As with Ben's one over there, it ends a little short.
Yeah, but who made that one and who made this one?
BPS Knives made this one, and this was a gift from our late departed friend. So that's kind of why I have it here.
Okay. So this was made by me. It's made from a file.
Oh,
and
sweet.
You still see some of the file marks on the very back. I spent a long time getting this down. This is something I would probably beat on. But yes, granted, handmade knives, very solid. I don't think there's a huge debate here, really. In the end, a full tang knife is, the most secure option you're going to get. But there is other qualities to keep in mind. Full tang does not completely make the knife, but is definitely a indicator of a good knife.
Bring that over here. Don't got my glasses. Let's see. Wish they made a multi-tool with the Nesmuk style blade.
Nesmuk?
Yeah. I'm looking it up. It's maybe we call it something else, man. Give me one sec. We'll come back to that. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. NESSMUK. It's that kind of it's a flared end knife. I know what he's talking about now. I commonly see it in hunting for skinning is what I think of, like a skinning style knife. If that makes any sense to you, Ben. Just out of
yeah.
curiosity, there, who was it that asked that? I think that was Matt. Matt, why would you specifically look for a knife multi tool with that style of blade? If you don't mind me asking, man. Yeah, kinda, but more of a swoop to it.
So the first thing that came up was actually a DH Russell Canadian belt knife, and this is a belt knife, not quite the same. It might be the closest I had at a quick. I don't have to move anything. Ace. That curve really helps with skinning, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's where I think of it. I think of that as a skinning style knife. I had one for the longest time until somebody stole it from me, but
Bastard.
still a little sour on that note.
Yeah, so as you pull the hide back, you can run that curved edge. You're trying to do it a straight edge, you're going to damage more meat. That curved edge definitely gives you the ability to do stuff. I have a few skinning knives. I have one that I've really been sizing up. I think I might make a trip to Cabela's and see if I can pick it up. I thought I might have got it for Christmas. I didn't. Regardless of hints and hints and hints, but it was on clearance forever, so if it's still there, I'm buying it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we slightly jumped off topic with knives there. That is definitely a topic that we should approach in the very near future, Ben. Fixed blade versus folder, because that's a great topic, I think, and that would be a great one for you folks to weigh in on as well, because I think this is going to be the same as the what is the best knife topic. There's probably going to be no right answer to this, and everybody's going to have an opinion.
It's right up there with what is the best camera topic.
The one I own.
Well, in the end, it is, right? What's the best knife is the knife you have in your hand that'll cut the thing you need to cut. But it gets so much more than that. It's a very personal item for us. Back to the multi-tools, though. Yeah. What are you looking for? You are definitely looking for a solid build. I'm sort of doing a quick refresher. Something that's solidly built, has the options you think you will need, and honestly, take a few minutes to think of your needs. But if you're unsure, buy the one with a couple extra tools.
Yeah, honestly, I have got a couple in the past that probably had more tools than it needed because they weren't useful tools. Just make sure the tools you're getting are useful would be my only caveat there. Because you can get a lot of tools and some of them not being useful at all. And then, like, I'm trying to think of some of the ones that were on there, and this was a while ago. I just remember having it, and I ended up giving this multi-tool away because it just had stuff that I was like, why does it have this? But I can't think of it right now, unfortunately.
There is, and my best example of that is I had or have somewhere a multi-tool, as in like a Swiss Army knife, that is like an inch plus thick.
Yeah, it's like massive with all of these options that, sure, it's nice that they're there, but what's the reality of using them? And where there's so many options on there, sometimes the quality starts to dip. So yeah, the tool may be on there to do what it's supposed to do, but does it do it well or good enough?
Well, I mean, it held an edge. All the knife blades held an edge. Everything was kind of functional, but honestly, nothing was good because when you couldn't get your hand quite around it to grab it well. And so it was uncomfortable to use. So yes, it had a knife, and yes, it cut well, but I had 1 inch down that was kind of like in the way half the time. My hand wasn't wrapped around it. It has a saw, but again, it's a short saw. I was only able to use it so much.
I
Um,
can remember one of the things that was on this multi-tool. It had a surgical blade holder, which at the time I thought was going to be great. But the reality is a surgical blade, super sharp, super precise, not very strong. You know
no,
what I mean? So for me and my practicality, it just didn't fit the bill for me. Now, for somebody else that does a lot of fine work, and
and
that's who I
how
ended up
often?
giving it to, was somebody that did a lot of carving. They wanted it, so
I was going to say, and how often did you have to perform surgery?
that's the thing. I always flipped it out and said, "Hey, look, I got a scalpel on mine." But the reality was, anytime I tried to use the blade for what I wanted it to, it broke, or I just ended up not using it. But there's multiple tools like that. That just happened to be the one I remembered. And yeah, that's a good point there, Nomad. How heavy is your multi-tool? Make sure you're getting something that's not gonna, you don't want to walk by mud puddles because you're gonna be scared of drowning, because they're gonna weigh you to the bottom. I
Well,
mean, he's saying his Leatherman Surge is over a pound. This one's fairly hefty. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not terrible.
I can't see it being a pound. Is it a pound?
I don't know. I'll check on the thing. It probably has a weight after a lot of writing. Um, anyway, getting back to tools, here's an idea or a topic, Ben. Does the brand name matter?
To me, no. And I want to preface that with a little bit. I was a Gerber man for years because the military used them. As the first set I got, I really liked the feel and the hold of them. Leatherman started becoming more and more popular. I managed to get an older Leatherman. The quality wasn't there. Now I look at some of the newer ones and I realize that they're very comparable, in some ways probably better depending on the knife. So Leatherman and Gerber have always been some of the higher ones. I am seeing things like this Byberry. Is it as good as a Leatherman Surge? Maybe. Maybe. We don't know.
Hmm.
Initial thoughts, it's not bad. It seems pretty good. I don't see any major flaws with it. It's stiff. The light, everything seems to work. It's adequately strong. I love the interchangeability of some of their functions. Will it hold up long-term use? That is the question that remains to be seen.
So far, it's been pretty good. I have been using mine. This is the one I now carry in my truck as my daily driver. So if I ever need a tool for whatever reason, like at work, I just, oh yeah, I got a multi-tool out in the truck, and I run out and grab it. You know what I mean? It's everything that I need within reasonable reach. Also, I looked up the weight on this. It's just under a pound. It's about
Yes,
500 grams, or just under 500 grams, or something like that.
a pound is 454.
It's just slightly over a pound. I thought it was. Sorry,
So
I thought it was the other way around.
I do have a digital scale just in the next
So
room.
do
I could
I.
probably
I just don't have it here. I'm just being lazy. I could go wait. Keep talking, Ben. I'm going to go get my scale. I know exactly where it is. I'll be right back.
say because it could be like the box weight in there. But yeah, no, I mean
Well, that's
all
what
the
I'm thinking
bits,
too.
the extra two blades that come with it, the extra um, clips, and it comes with a little. I want to call it an Allen key, but it's more a Torx piece. It comes with all that, so that may actually add up to something. Maybe it is a pound of butter. I don't know.
All right, we're going to find out. We got it right here.
But my only I agree with him in the fact that if you're carrying this on your belt and your pants and belt aren't nice and tight, this will start to pull your pants down. I mean, it hasn't a weight.
All right, we are at. It's not over a pound.
Not?
No. It is 11.4 ounces.
Wow, that's nothing.
So, according to the scale, for what it's worth, gram wise, just weighing it straight up.
Is that with the case and everything?
No, this is just the tool alone. It's only 324 grams according to the
Okay.
So let's throw the case on there. Now you got me on a different
Case,
topic here, folks. Thanks.
case, and the
420
bits.
grams with the case and all the accessories. No box.
Just under a pound.
Just
Okay.
under a pound.
It does weigh something. If you're an ultralight camper, I mean, I spoke to one of those ultralight guys, and he said, "Man, I carry a single razor blade, and the back is wrapped in, and it weighs like 7 grams." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't."
My Leatherman with
Uh,
case is 300 grams as comparison.
so I mean, at any given time, I have probably 2 pocket knives in my pocket. And they weigh more than a razor blade. Do I ever regret carrying one of these? Absolutely not. I love carrying my knives, and I use them regularly. And I've even been stopped by strangers who see me using it and say, "Why do you carry a knife?" Because I use it.
So Nomad's just asking about the weight of my Leatherman. Keep in mind there, Nomad, my Leatherman's not the Surge. Mine is an OHT or one-handed tool. It was one of the specific things I got with this one here. When Ben was talking about snapping these open, that's what this is. The whole tool is designed to be used for with one hand in case your hand is incapacitated for whatever reason. More specifically, it's holding something in my, you know what I mean? So this isn't a Surge. A Surge has a little bit more functionality than the OHT would have. The OHT, like I said, was designed as an outdoors multi-tool for single-handed use. It was a
And it's a
knockoff
lot
of
like
the Gerber. Gerber did it first. You know what I mean? Let's face facts. Exactly.
Absolutely love that action, though. But yeah, I mean, there's a weight to these things. I mean, this definitely weighs more than this. And like my little Leatherman, probably a little less, but it's denser.
Believe it or not, the Hammer multi-tool, only 405 grams.
So
Like, now that I got the scale here, of course, I'm weighing everything like a fool, but
here's my question for you. What is your plan? Like this for me would definitely go in my vehicle. It would definitely be attached. Like I would take it on my motorcycle, and depending on the trip I'm doing, I might take it on a pack, especially if I was maybe canoeing or kayaking. Would I carry this on a 3-day hike where I'm trying to save weight? This would probably get left, to be honest with you.
that's what this one was for me. This one gets attached to my pack via Molly gear, and it is my go-to bushcrafting multi-tool. Once again, weight, apparently it's down from the norm, but it's just, this is what fits the bill for me. Is it the best multi-tool out there? Absolutely not. Is it the one that fits the bill for what I do? Yes. The only thing I wish was that it wasn't in just jet black. They only made 3 colors in this thing. There was black, there was OD green, and then there was the black with silver accent. And I went for the black with silver accent, completely sold out when I bought it. And I figured green was definitely gone in the woods, so I took a chance on black. That way if I lose it in a river, I know it's gone forever.
If only they come out with Day Glow Orange.
I mean, I would buy it in orange. I literally would.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's something that I often think of. Like, what if I lay my tool down? Will I be able to get it back?
Nah, I still have a knife sitting out with the waterfalls that I literally just set on the log. I think it was when
Yeah.
you and I went out. I set it on the
Oh, yeah?
log and I went to do something and literally just set it there. And it is forever gone. And funny enough, this happened on, speaking of alone earlier in the program, coming back to that, Rob. Rob and his fire starter, he set it down on the beach and then it was just gone. And that's actually what got him, not eliminated, but that's why he had to cash in, was because he had no way of starting a fire and he wasn't going to freeze to death. You know what I mean?
So, an interesting thing with that particular one is he had pre-drilled that to put a lanyard on it, but if he had put the lanyard on it before he left, it was going to count as 2 objects. So for it to not count as 2 objects, he left them separate when he got there. He was planning on taking the string and tying it through it. But what he said is once that black rod landed on that black sand, it disappeared. He never could find it again.
Anyway, once again, kind of jumped off topic, but interesting factoids. Where were we? Multi-tools. Does brand name matter? I'm with Ben. I'm with you, Ben. Honestly, brand name doesn't matter a whole lot to me. Gerber, Leatherman, they're good quality names in the field. They've been doing it a long time. Military has trusted them long in the past. A lot of other government organizations trust them in the past. Do you have to rush out and buy a Gerber or Leatherman? Absolutely not. Like this thing here, this Byberry that we're talking about, for the money we paid, 54, 50, 50 to $55, whatever it was. I think you're right. I think it was 52.99. Um, it's a lot of multi-tool for the price. And keep that in mind, folks. It's a lot of multi-tool for the price. You were getting the quality, now that I know what this Leatherman is worth, you're getting the quality of like $100 to $150 multi-tool for literally a third of the price. Is it the exact same as a $150 multi-tool? You're probably going to save a little bit of weight, as we've seen with the Leatherman, but the quality seems to be there. It's a good, solid quality build. I've been torture testing mine. Like, I do not baby my stuff. I buy stuff to be used. I use it. So, I mean, I have dropped this. It's fallen off the back of my truck. I've been using it at work. I use it in the garage. Like, I'm using it, and I have zero qualms about it. Granted, we've only had them, what, 2 weeks, Ben? We got them in December, I think. Just literally right after Christmas.
So I want to point out something, though. The Leatherman Surge is $203.
Yeah.
So we paid a quarter of that, approximately. And it weighs 354 grams.
So it's 100 grams less.
Or 12.5 ounces. You said it was 11.
Is this 11? Here, hold on. I have the grams here, too. According to my Refo kitchen scale. Apparently didn't like
That's
being off
probably
balance.
without the case.
420 grams with
Without.
case, everything. That's the whole thing. 420 grams.
What is it without?
$324. But keep in mind, in the case is like the extra bits, the extra knife, or sorry, the
That's
extra
what I'm
saw
looking at.
blades,
A lot of that we could take out if we don't need it. So they're saying that the knife itself is 354. So it is mildly lighter.
No, it's not. It's the one we have is mildly lighter by 25
That's what I mean,
grams. Yeah.
Yeah. But we can say they're comparable weights.
Yeah, 25 grams, we are splitting hairs at that point. Unless you're dealing with drugs, and then it's a big thing. But right now, for us, it's splitting hairs.
Other things you want to look at, like when I did do some research on it, is the steel. I mean, does brand name matter? I would say no. Does steel quality matter? I would say absolutely.
Yes, and this is where I was going to go with. It's not the quality of the name, it's the quality of the materials it's constructed with.
So I don't care whose name is wrote on it, but do take a look, because a lot of these things like Biber, I looked up the steel they use. It is a quality steel used in a lot of entry-level, more budget-friendly knives. It's a good steel. Is it the same steel as used in a Surge? No. The Surge uses, I don't know if it gives this, it gives the hardness.
And yeah, no, Matt, I know exactly what you mean to add the lanyard onto this. I am now going to throw water in our own faces about this. I actually don't like a lanyard on it. I find it gets in the way. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I keep this in the case almost exclusively. Oh, what's wrong with the pup? Oh, geez, I didn't even realize the other dog was in here. Sorry, my wife just came in. We have a new dog, and she is sucking this thing along. Here, let's see it. Her. Come here, Sarah. There, this is my latest little companion. That's not near as skittish as the other one, so hopefully this one's going to be the new outdoor dog. That one's jealous. Anyway. All right, get out what you do. Go on.
So yeah, if you're looking at, like, does brand name matter? No. Does material quality matter? Yes. Does final fit and finish matter? Yes.
It's got to be comfortable in your hand.
Yeah. When it's fully made, make sure everything fits together. Make things that are, I mean, you could take some time and fix it up yourself. You can take a piece out and file and sand down the rough edges and re-put the edge on it. The other thing is, yes, it's a good material, but was it tempered correctly? And so maybe they cheaped out on their processing. So, make sure you do some review. Make sure you do some research. Like you said, we are torture testing this, but at $50, I can afford to take that in the woods and lose it and not feel like when I come home, my wife is going to tell me I need to find somewhere else to live. If she buys me a $200-300 knife and I go in the woods and break it, now we're having a conversation.
Not a good conversation either, folks. You never want to have those conversations.
Having both been through these conversations, we can tell you, like there is a line, and this is probably where we're going to end because we are over an hour.
Yep.
Um, and this is something that we do with a lot of our equipment. Like I bought the Olight headlamp. It cost significantly more than any headlamp I had bought up until that point. I lost my previous one. If I lose this one, I will probably never own a $100+ headlamp again.
And
Right?
much the same. Like I bought the little or well, actually, it was kind of I got a significant discount on one of these things for us to test. For the Olight flashlight, amazing flashlight. But if I lose it or it stops working, I will probably not buy another one. Not because of the lack of quality of the actual product. I just don't got that kind of money to throw at another
Well,
flashlight.
it's it, right? Like we're bang for your buck. And if I lose it, like one of the things I do look at is if I was to buy, and this is just bringing this out as a different thing. I was to buy a car for doing like a vehicle for off-roading. I don't necessarily want to buy the most expensive off-roading vehicle. And the reason is if I break it, it's gone. And I'm out 300,000, 400,000. I can't afford to be out 3 or 400,000. I can't afford to own it at all. But I can afford barely to be out 10,000.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the other
uh,
thing. Realistically, for what we do in the woods, which I'm sure is what you're getting to, you don't necessarily need the best of the best. Now, if I was using this in my fire gear, and I have a different flashlight, Streamlight with my fire gear, and something happened to it, yeah, I'd probably replace it. If something happened to my Streamlight, I would probably replace it for my fire gear. But once again, different use. I am depending on that flashlight in a smoky situation that could potentially save my life. This one here, I'm just trying to find the crap I already lost. You know what I mean? I can get away with a little cheaper light. Not that the quality is any less, don't get me wrong. It's a great quality flashlight, but I really don't need it for being out in the woods.
so yeah, don't get hung up with. And this is the same thing with a lot of our gear. I've bought pillows, air mattresses, um, cots, tents, not based on brand name, but based on materials, quality, and cost. And I do look at it, and you can't get. Wasn't the old thing? You can't get all three. You can get it quick, cheap, or quality, but you can't get all three. You can't get high quality, cheap, and quick. And you have to usually give up at least one. Um, so I've bought stuff off AliExpress, and you don't get it quick, and you may not be getting the quality. And
Everything's a
if you're not
gamble.
careful, you may not even get it cheap.
But that's part of the fun of all of it, honestly. But yeah, folks, if it's coming to multi-tools, look at the construction of it. And ultimately, if you have the option, get it in your hands. You don't necessarily have to go, cracking rocks with it or something like that, but just manipulate it a little in your hands. Does the tools flip in and out in a way that you find comfortable? I know some of my multi-tools, and that was one of my biggest gripes about this Coleman, which was once again my original one, was to get the tools out of the inside. Some of them are reset in there like really deep, and they don't have the best finger grabs on them. That was like my big gripe about this. So if the tool is not going to be comfortable with you, it's not going to feel good in the hand, you can't get the tool that you need out of it, you're not going to use it and you're wasting your money anyway. So you are a little better off to maybe spend a couple dollars more, maybe a couple dollars less, depending, and find something that suits you. And I know we say that about a lot of gear, but ultimately that's what it all comes down to. Gear is a personal thing. There is no best universally. It depends on what you're going to do with it, where you're going with it, and what your preferences are. And that is the biggest thing that weighs into it. Next to actual quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyways,
I'd say Nomad maybe just had a little conversation with his significant other about a piece of gear they lost, judging by the comments. So another prowler that's had the
see, it,
conversation.
it happens.
It does. It's a real thing.
Well, I last story, and then we'll go. I went camping with a guy one time, and his sleeping bag may or may not have hit hot metal from the, and it ruined the sleeping bag. And this was a winter sleeping bag. I don't know if it was down or synthetic. I can't remember. I'm thinking it was synthetic though. But it was high end, high good quality, and it was a significant investment for this individual. And so it really sucks when you go back. Like you feel like sick to your stomach when that stuff happens. Um, and here's where buying brand name matters. He did buy a brand name, and when he went back and he told them what happened, they actually gave him a significant discount on a replacement.
Nice.
So he still has a sleeping bag. He wasn't out the full price of the sleeping bag. He was a part of a price of a sleeping bag. So that's, buying from a local vendor and having that relationship sometimes saves you too, right?
And
But
that
yeah,
is the thing with brand name. This is the only plus I'll say on brand name. A lot of the good brand names, they do have some sort of limited lifetime warranty. Gerber did for the longest time. Leatherman did for the longest time. I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked in the last couple of years. That could have changed. But as long as
Gerber does again.
it still has the limited lifetime warranty. As long as you're not abusing it grossly, they'll replace any broken parts on it.
Well, and I'm testing that as we speak because I sent pictures in of mine because the file broke off of it and one of the screwdrivers is chipped and there's a few minor issues with it. And I'm waiting to see if they get back to me on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Leatherman was much the same. They used to have a limited lifetime warranty. Somebody else at the same time that I bought this one bought theirs and the tip of their knife broke off. I do know they came back and said they weren't going to replace that because they were misusing it. And they openly admitted to misusing it before it went in. So, I mean, mileage is going to vary a little bit on some of this stuff. I think the thing is, as long as it's not gross misuse, if it's normal wear and tear, they'll probably cover it.
Anyways, yeah, like we said, I always say, get out there, have fun, enjoy yourselves. 4 or 5 good topics that we'll probably talk about in the near future. Thank you very much for your feedback. Yeah, see you guys hopefully next week, weather permitting.
Didn't go out tonight. Things are still good. I think the wind's actually dying down now. So, all right,
Nice.
night everybody. We'll see you next week.